The other morning, I woke up all fresh and relaxed and ready to stream, and then suddenly, wham! Tons of news over in Wowhead land. Apparently, an early version of the beta was given to a select few special people, which didn't include me, and they got some exclusive interview slots, and well, you can expect how I'd react to it.
What is it now, Soul?
The heck is this? I didn't get into this beta thing.
Oh, you didn't. Ha ha ha.
What do you mean you didn't? Oh, God, really? Did you?
Yeah, man. Of course, who didn't get in?
Me?
Right. Well, you didn't go the extra mile.
And what is the extra mile?
Well, you need to open your... and then...
Dude, you just said send an email and ask.
Hey, that's supposed to be secret.
Hey dudes, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the show that probably shouldn't waste too much time because, man, there's a lot to cover. But not before giving hugs and kisses to the Brutosaur party over on Twitch, who has been especially generous this week, as well as our valued patrons including newcomers Matthew and Anelia, because it's only right that guildmates pay me for a raid spot. Well, not really. So this week has been exceptional, with an absolutely overwhelming amount of information flooding Wowhead and Twitter. Tons of videos are already out, and I myself, I've been playing catch up. I managed to get a hold of this early beta thanks to lore, fist bump. That was not supposed to happen, but anyway. What I'm going to do for this week's weekly is give you the highlights, the revelations, and the concerns, which means I get to control the narrative. I'll avoid giving spoilers. I will try to be straight to the point, because you know me. I'll give some opinions here and there, and you can navigate through it using the convenient little sections on the bars like somewhere down here. I gotta say though, this whole thing is exciting. This is it. This is the start of the Shadowlands hype train. Choo choo.
But everything is subject to change.
Well, it's still kind of a train, or you know what? You killed it. You killed it. Way to go, Bob.
Haha, mission accomplished.
That thing is way too long. On Tuesday, the long-awaited livestream with Ian Hezekiah and John Haidt rolled out, revealing many truths, including how wrong I am about, like, everything. We did not get a release date for Shadowlands, only a nebulous range of fall. So I'm thinking either early November or December. That's kind of safe, right? But the Shadowlands Beta is going to start next week with a big round of invites, so double check your clients next week if your account has been flagged, or go to the Shadowlands Beta opt-in page, which I'm going to link in the description along with many other things, and make sure that you're signed up. If you did get an email that you got into the beta, woo! But don't click anywhere in case you're being phished and all that. Just check your client as soon as you can. With the start of the beta comes the full 9.0 Shadowlands experience, from leveling to at least some endgame, including endgame Covenant systems, Torghast and the Maw. With Torghast, we know now that all forms of keys and gating will be removed. We can walk in whenever we want and play to our heart's content. As for the stuff that we get from Torghast, the recipes and the reagents that get us the legendaries and cosmetics, that's a different beast that still needs to be finalized. I can finally share this little bit of information though. As you climb Torghast, the rewards that you obtain will be based on the highest floor that you climb in a given week. So for example, a few weeks into Shadowlands, you've climbed as high as floor 30, yay. And on reset day, you decide to start at floor 30, and you climb as high as floor 36. So when you open your chest, you're going to get the rewards from all the floors that you skipped. Then, if you climb from floor 36 to floor 42 right afterwards, then you just get the rewards from that particular boss floor. Make sense? Good. Since we're talking about Torghast, we're going to talk just a little bit about Legendaries. And let me make it clear that this video is more preview and less guide, so don't expect to walk away with a lot of clarity. Now, as you've been told, you'll be crafting legendaries through a special NPC called the Runesmith, who is in Torghast. And I'm gonna skip some stuff, but unlocking the Maw and Torghast and the Runesmith takes like what, an hour on the beta, tops. They really weren't kidding when they were talking about how quickly you can access endgame systems. You want to go into the Maw? Sweet, just jump into the hole. No problem. There's an extra life down there. No, just kidding. You're in the Maw. prepare to die. Anyway, here is the legendary UI, which is a little bit broken because I walked in here as a paladin, and it seems that without paladin legendary affixes in the beta at the moment, things end up not looking right, so go me. Assembling the legendary is simple. Acquiring what you need to assemble it, though, requires, I don't know, a legendary effort. On the right hand side are 2 slots that let you customize stats, which are made by scribes. And right now you can't just stack the same stat, but it's still very nice on the optimization side of things. At the center is where you put your base piece, made by whatever armor crafting profession, and it depends on the kind of legendary that you want to craft. Then on the left side is where you choose the legendary power that you want to affix. And it's not set in stone how you craft these legendary powers. The discussion right now is that there will be account-wide recipes that you obtain from different sources. Ian used a raid boss drop as an example. That might drop a recipe. What doesn't make much sense though is that the value of these recipes being account-wide doesn't mean much. I mean, yay, I got the Pyroblast legendary recipe, so now all of my mages get access to this power? Woo, what? We're gonna wait for clarification, but I'm going to speculate, alright? Some raid boss, for example, is going to drop a recipe for an Orb of Awesome, a reagent that can be used to make 5 to 10 different kinds of legendaries depending on the class and spec. And now that recipe is account-wide, as in each of your alts will still need to put in, whatever work is needed to gather the materials that you need. With any luck, like a lot of crafting in Shadowlands, these materials will not be soulbound, so cross your fingers, alright? Now let's jump to how covenants work, starting with Soulbinds. Soulbinds are manipulated at this Forge of Bonds structure here, and can be accessed through the Covenant button on your minimap. It's, right over here. Here you can see your Covenant callings, whatever those are at the moment, as well as your current Soulbind. Clicking here will let you see your Soulbind traits, as well as let you switch between your Soulbinds whenever you're in a rest area, or if you use a tome. It's similar to changing talents. Changing what is inside your Soulbinds, though, it's a little bit less simple at the moment. You can see pretty clearly that you can make selections that take you down a path, similar to a talent tree. If you want to change the path that you go down though, you need to hit this respec button down at the bottom, which resets the entire tree, so then you can remake your choices. Frankly, I don't think it needs a cost to it at all. The fact that I gotta bum my ass all the way back to the Sanctum to respec, I think is all the cost that I need. I'll point out 2 big things that I noticed with these Venthyr Soulbinds. Theotar the Mad Duke used to have a final trait that was essentially a cheat death. I thought that this was a little bit overpowered, and maybe Blizzard thought so too, because as of now, it's not there anymore. It's just a placeholder. However, the most powerful trait in the game, the free transmog, is still there. Meanwhile, General Draven has a very interesting bottom tier power called Call to Action. It makes your Covenant class ability grant a big versatility bonus to yourself and a smaller bonus to a couple of nearby allies. But there's more. You can see that this buff lasts for 30 seconds, that is, on a paladin. On other classes, like warriors, with their shorter cooldown on the Covenant ability, this bonus lasts for only 10 seconds and it procs once per minute. The point is that there's a bit more interactivity with Covenant class abilities, rather than just the signature abilities like Door of Shadows. Now let's talk Conduits, which I was worried about after the Shadowlands livestream. Today it just turns into critical feedback. This is Ashen Juggernaut, a conduit that, as you can see, does not stack in your inventory. The effects also don't stack if you were to, put a bunch of the same conduit into your active Soulbind. We can't draw any real conclusions from this, I'm just letting you know in case you were curious, right? But also pay attention to the tooltip of the conduit itself. It enhances Condemn, which is the Venthyr Covenant ability for warriors. There are other conduits mentioned in Blizzard's official Soulbinds preview, but only Mage, Monk, and Warrior conduits are available for testing, at least at the moment. So there will be conduits that at least enhance Covenant abilities. We're just not certain if they'll actually change them. I'm going to go through some more bullet points. Conduits are active as long as the path that you choose in your Soulbind runs over these conduits. If you reset your tree, the conduits don't go anywhere. They just go inactive until you make your selections. If you overwrite one conduit with another, the old conduit is destroyed. Many conduits are spec specific, and if you change your specialization, you will not have a clean set of Soulbinds to work with. So your Fury-based Conduits will still be there when you spec into Protection. It gets even better / worse. So if you happen to be a druid who actively plays all 4 of your specializations, Soulbinds are going to be a really messy affair, at least in their existing form. So here's some quick feedback or suggestions. At the risk of oversimplifying the way that Soulbinds and Conduits work, I'd say make Conduits behave like glyphs. And by that I mean Warlords of Draenor glyphs, where earning 1 or obtaining 1 means that you have it unlocked permanently, just here on the side. Earn 1, then done. Again, I'm really oversimplifying this. But I think that this solves tons of potential problems, like having to destroy conduits that we might have tried really hard to obtain, that later we may need to get back, because conduits may have many sources like dungeons, raids, the weekly chest, and that's a source of a lot of potential complaints. A conduit UI of sorts also allows the flexibility of giving each of our specializations its own Soulbind and Conduit profile, which will reduce the so-called alt tax that Druid won't need to farm like 4 of the same Conduit. As a compromise, we can at least add a little bit of friction by requiring a small, non-scaling cost of anima whenever we're replacing conduits. And I think that's perfect, it's great. Mwah! Ship it! You're welcome. Let's move on to the new mission table in Shadowlands, which in a nutshell has stepped up from a mere Facebook game into a bona fide mobile game. I'm making it sound way worse than it probably is, so let me explain. Similar to the Warlords of Draenor garrison followers, you're going to be building a stable of troops, an army, but not exactly to counter mission objectives and raise that completion chance to as close to 200%. Instead, you're building teams meant to counter other teams in the hopes that the composition that you chose can outskill or overpower them. And of course you get some snazzy rewards out of it, whatever that is. The premise of this is still the same as previous mission tables. In this case though, it feels more like a game of strategy than just chance. I can't say exactly where you get these followers, but it seems that you get at least one of them through Renown, the reputation-like system in Shadowlands that gets you further along with your Covenant. A little bit earlier in the alpha, I also found a follower just hanging out in Torghast. Okay, they weren't hanging out, they were like chained and hanging out, you know what I mean? But I just talked to them, they offered to join, and ta-da! I'm obviously showing some bad examples with a bunch of like losing fights or whatever fights, but your followers have stats and abilities to help you decide how to make this perfect composition that will hopefully mow down your enemies. But keep in mind that like previous mission tables, you'll want to set up multiple team comps to counter various threats. Chances are pretty good that an add-on will eventually turn this into some one-click chore, but at least as it is right now, this is surprisingly in-depth and can be a cool distraction to mess with on your mobile. I can't confidently say that flying will be unlocked earlier in Shadowlands, but it is certain that it's simpler and more contextualized. The Shadowlands Pathfinder achievement is linked to your Covenant's Renown, which is like kind of a fusion of reputation and honor levels, as in gaining Renown levels will get you stuff, and eventually will get you flying. Renown is also going to have built-in catch-up mechanisms to ensure that, even well after launch, returning players can quickly catch up to the rest of us and unlock flight. Assuming that Pathfinder itself is still an achievement, that's going to mean that once you complete this achievement, flight is account-wide. So in case you wanted to switch Covenants down the road, you can do so without suddenly being grounded. Each Covenant has its own series of mini-games that offer rewards including zone buffs, cosmetics, Covenant crafting recipes, and more. What's testable right now in the beta is the Ember Court for Revendreth, and it's distracting and weird. In so few words, you have party guests that you want to entertain and make happy by keeping stuff clean, or by making the party super exciting, maybe violent, or a combination of both. I had no idea what I was doing in this footage. I was just blindly clicking on stuff and suddenly everyone was fighting. It's bonkers. But it's also very in-depth. You can customize the menu, the venue, the seating, the entertainment, who to invite, and more. The other covenants, including the Venthyr, have an official preview from Blizzard, and I'm going to link this stuff in the description too. The Kyrian Covenant features the Path of Ascension, a tournament that your Soulbinds will participate in. You'll help arm them, train them, and more, and then control them, and then fight off bad guys, or rivals, whatever. They're bad guys too, right? The Necrolord Covenant will have you build an abomination army that will unlock other quest content, and zone buffs, and travel perks, including what looks like to be your very own necropolis. Woohoo! And for the Night Fae, there is the Queen's Conservatory, which may have familiarity with the Tiller's Farm. You'll be tending, planting, and harvesting what I'm sure is cool stuff. So the team wasn't kidding one bit when they said that Covenants are Shadowlands' biggest central feature. We've come a long way from just, woo, Covenant abilities, and we still got a ways to go. Choosing your Covenant is not unlike choosing a class or a subclass, something that players have asked for. And the differences between Covenants go well beyond percentages or rankings on Warcraft logs. They give the expansion this different perspective with very different campaigns and environments and personalities, and apparently a lot of minigames. I said I wanted to experience the Battle for Azeroth questing from the Alliance side, and I still want to do that, but the advantage Shadowlands has by comparison is that I can still be a part of my guild. I could still be in the same faction, and I can choose the class that I want to play through all this content. There's a lot of replay value here for people who want a lot to experience. Making the so-called right choice is a separate discussion entirely, but after going through the questing, I'm excited to play through all 4 Covenants on alts for the experience, if nothing else. I got through a lot of the meaty stuff, so now I'm going to do a kind of lightning round through the other miscellaneous bits of news and Shadowlands updates that really couldn't fit anywhere else. Experience bonuses from heirlooms are going away entirely in Shadowlands. This is a direct result from leveling speed being drastically increased in Shadowlands for all players. It remains to be seen what, if anything, heirlooms will do for players at this point. I mean, they already scale, so that already negates the need to hunt for gear upgrades. A few random ideas that come to mind would be legacy rep bonuses, speed increases, bonus procs maybe, and, other snazzy effects while you're leveling. This isn't going away in the Shadowlands launch, but the appearance change service is basically going away as an in-game service, and it's going to be moved into the in-game barbershop for gold, meaning that soon you can change your gender at will. That's pretty horrifying, isn't it, that your shape-shifting druid can also shift between male and female. So in the face of expressing freedom of gender identity, it's also a few less bucks in Bobby Kotick's pocket. A new 6-month promotional / store mount has reared its head. This time, it's a metal dragon with almost fire breath. This ought to make up for the lost revenue thanks to taking away appearance changes. I would say more on this, but then I would literally say the same shit that I've been saying every time these promos happen, and many of you will respond the same way too. Next week, we can expect from Blizzard a list of all the things that will be going away in the Shadowlands pre-patch, including corruption. It sounds harsh that on the first day of 9.0, you're not going to be running a horrific vision for that malefic core. You're going to be basically the character that you were in patch 8.2, and you're level 50, and your stats are squished. But you have essences. You'll have essences, just not while you're physically in the Shadowlands. Makes me think, Vision of Perfection is going to scale pretty well, The team is working on a way to break transmog restrictions on artifact weapons. So for example, if a hunter wants to use their marksman artifact appearance while in Beastmaster spec, I can now. Yay! As for how high of a priority this is, we're not entirely sure, but hey, we've been surprised before. Next week, Shadows Rising, the pre-Shadowlands book written by Madeline Rue and featuring the steamy Nathanos love scene, is coming in just a few days, or fewer if you got lucky. Once I get my hands on it, I'm probably going to be silent for a little while, but when I return, I'm going to give my own sweaty recap with my thoughts, so stay tuned for that. And I think that's it. That's all the biggest news, updates, and clarifications for this week. I'm sure I let a few things slip. There are definitely some lore spoilers that I left out, but folks, what do you think of all this so far? Comparing this to BFA's development has been like night and day, with showing us more sooner, and without being shy about responding and making changes. There are concerns, obviously. For me, Conduits are the most standout concern, and I think we should continue giving specific feedback about where we feel frustrated, what could work better, and why. It's no longer only alpha. Next week, I hope to see a ton of you on the beta so Torghast doesn't feel so lonely, but yeah, like I said, what do you think of all this so far? I've touched on as many details as I could, but more official articles have been popping up while writing this weekly, so check the description below, please. The information in today's weekly was brought to you by just a small part of our massive WoW community, including Wowhead, Eurogamer, Mr. GM, Hazelnutty, Lordmans, Panda TV, Sloot, Warcraft Radio, Alviona, Tauntaun, Judge Hype, Loppy, Hello Farhead, Geek Culture, and no doubt there are more that I missed, including Bellular, who hasn't published his interview with Ian, at least as of this recording. I apologize if I missed anyone, and I'm really hoping that in the future I get to be a part of these too, and it's nobody's fault that I was not. Of course, a big thumbs up to Blizzard for sticking its neck out earlier to help ensure that Shadowlands is a success. So far, I think it's been a worthwhile investment and it's been paying off. So stay tuned next week for beta coverage and the latest developments by following me over on Twitch, by subscribing to this channel, and maybe even consider joining me as a patron, and hey, like the video too, that always helps. Thanks a ton for making it to the end, and beta keys. I don't have any. You guys have a good one, and we will see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.